Well, good morning. We're still waiting for a quorum, but we can go ahead and start with presentations. And item 2 on our agenda is item from the chairman, which is a presentation of the 2024 COPTA Transit Rider Survey results for the City of Oklahoma City fixed routes, Rapid Northwest, and the streetcar, and the Norman.
Yeah. Good morning, Chairman. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present the results of our 2024 Customer Satisfaction Survey to you. As in years past, we partnered with ETC Institute to perform this survey for us. I got it right here. The purpose of our survey, really each year that we provide the survey, is to understand the characteristics of our riders, assess their satisfaction level with the service we're providing, to understand changes in expectations, and then also identify opportunities to make improvements in our service. And so over the next few slides here, I'll go over the satisfaction ratings and we'll dig into some of the changes in expectations from our riders. First, the methodology. We surveyed over 2,000 riders of Oklahoma City bus fixed route, OKC streetcar, Rapid Northwest, and then Norman bus service. And you can see the breakdowns in front of you on your screen, but these sample sizes gave us the scientific analysis to be within 95% accuracy to represent our ridership base as a whole. So one key I'll note is that staff did work with ETC to make sure that during the 2-week period that we surveyed, we were on various routes, various times a day, so that we were, again, getting a better reflection of our true ridership. So the good news is, respondents gave OKC Bus overall satisfaction rating of 77% this year. That's a combination of very satisfied and satisfied responses. So that's a combination of those two. But when you look at that compared to the national average, the bus service is performing 19% higher satisfaction rating than the national average here. So as we take a look at the different aspects of service, we had ratings increases in 10 of 13 assessed areas compared to the 2021 customer satisfaction survey. A few of those that are highlighted, we had 5 areas with increase of over 4%. That was frequency of service, 2 in the safety range here with felt safer riding the routes and improved safety at the bus stops. We also received increases in cleanliness at our stops and cleanliness at the transit center. So that is positives, and we're moving in the right direction from the improvements we've made since 2021. As we take a look at the Oklahoma City streetcar, satisfaction came in at a resounding 94%. This is 36% above the national average. And again, taking a closer look at those metrics that our riders are looking for, we did have decreases in several areas. And when you look into this, a lot of it really drives from a decrease in the satisfaction amongst accurate travel information. So our riders have come to expect that real-time information from us at the stop, the ability to track the vehicle along the route. And so currently, over the last year, we've been in the process of converting our system from previous provider, which was US Fleet Tracking, to Clever Systems. And so while the survey was performed, we're in the middle of that transition. So we anticipate these ratings to go up as we move forward in the next survey. Norman bus satisfaction, respondents gave it a satisfaction score of 83%, again, which is 25% above the national average. Satisfaction also had a decrease in a few areas here in Norman. We attribute this to some of the changes with the October service change that Norman underwent. There were a number of changes to stops, and a lot of the decreases were in the areas of locating stops, finding information about the new bus routes. So I think as riders get more comfortable with those changes and we make changes to improve signage in that area, we'll see those numbers increase over the next, within the next survey. But we will keep an eye on that. Now, Rapid overall satisfaction received high satisfaction results in its first really in its first 6 months. This survey was done in April and received a really high level score that you would expect to see with a new service line. All 18 areas rated at 75% or higher. We had 7 areas of service that were higher than 90%. That's that yellow indicator there. If you look at the screen, the dark blue, you can see the very satisfied ratings are really high here. So that's something that we're glad to see, especially with a new brand, that we have riders that are very satisfied with our service will go a long way to building loyalty with them, and again, developing the brand and driving additional ridership on the route. So next, how do our satisfaction levels compare to the national average? Chris Tatham, the CEO of ETC, this is his statement that Embark service is setting the standard for customer satisfaction in most areas. You can see when compared to the national average, when you look at the statistic there for safety while riding, even at the lowest score that we have on Oklahoma City Bus, we're still 40 points ahead of the national average. So we are really working to set the bar and customer satisfaction, even though we have seen some decreases. We are really still ahead of the national average here. So this is really great for us as a transit system as we work to provide world-class service to our riders. Now, there are still opportunities for us to continue to improve and raise those marks as we move forward. We surveyed our riders to understand what's most important to them, and so these are the type items that were still important to them. So hours of service, bus arrival, on-time arrival, accessibility to bus stops, which are being addressed by the improvements to bus shelters in MAPS 4, driver friendliness, reliability of service, and frequency of service. So the recommendation from ETC was for us to look at, hey, what has the lowest cost opportunity for us? So obviously, in this case, it's driver courtesy. Working with our drivers to improve the courtesy that we extend to our riders to try to drive that satisfaction score up is one of the top priorities that we'll have in addition to addressing these other areas. And then most important items to focus on for Oklahoma City Streetcar are going to be the arrival times at our platforms, which we are addressing, reliability of service, hours of service, cleanliness of streetcar, and courtesy of fare inspectors. Again, those last two, the cleanliness and courtesy, are two things that we can definitely address that have a really low cost opportunity for us to make a big impact on our overall satisfaction scores. So that concludes my presentation on our survey. Any questions? Be happy to entertain and answer.
Robert, do you have a
Maybe this is not directly for you, maybe it's a general question, but seeing, obviously, that we're rating low on on-time arrival, but that's also rated high as importance. And I know you mentioned that we're doing some things about that. What are the strategies there? What are we thinking in that area?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So specifically for the OKC streetcar, so as Armando had mentioned, we are in the process of transitioning basically our back of house service, right? So the program that monitors where our streetcars are on the alignment, and we're transitioning that over to our Clever devices. So that was one of the contracts that we took earlier in the year, or maybe even last year. But we're in the process of transitioning that over, and we're confident. We're already operating that way on the Rapid Northwest, and we're seeing those times being very reliable. Mm-hmm. And so we're confident that we'll see the same thing on the streetcar.
I see.
Yep.
When does the Clever devices software?
It's going to be early spring.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And so what has been the main cause of the delays on not the Rapid, but the streetcar and the normal service?
Okay, gotcha. Yep. So typically what happens is there will be cars parked over the line, mm-hmm. and that causes delays on the service for the streetcar. As far as providing rollout every morning, things like that, we've been spot on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I can add to that, I think from a customer's perspective, it's that they used to have the system would tell them, hey, next car is arriving in 5 minutes. And now we're saying when they go to the platform, we have signage up that says the streetcar arrives every 15 minutes or departs every 15 minutes. And so that uncertainty, I think, is did I get here at 5 minutes into that, or was, when did that streetcar leave? And so I think that's what's causing that uncertainty and led to some of these scores here. As Jesse indicated, with the new Clever system, we'll be able to have that same information for riders, just like we do with Rapid Northwest. So it'll say, hey, next arrival is in 2 minutes, and have that better information for them.
Wonderful, thank you.
Well, first, let me just say, hearing these results in the Transportation Committee meeting, I just think they're great. Like, I just think these are great. I just think we have to acknowledge that, especially on I almost forgot, but the 5th, December 5th is the anniversary of Rosa Parks and Montgomery and the bus boycott, the year-long bus boycott, where residents in Montgomery said, I'm not gonna walk, I'm not gonna take the bus because you're making me sit in the back, right? And I've said it before up here, but we fell victim to a very similar, the very first piece of law was segregation. The Senate Bill number 1. First order of business was not jobs. It wasn't your food safety. It was, I gotta keep these black people separate from these white people. That was the number 1 thing. And when we desegregated the buses, rather than fund them properly, we stopped funding them. That's how much the racism was. And the stigma of the buses aren't safe. That's what they said. The buses aren't safe because those people are on there. Your statistics, our statistics, are dent by dent by dent undoing that damage. It's repair work. I hope you all always, I know it's uncomfortable to talk about race, but we didn't do that back in the day. We did not pass Senate Bill 1. Never forget that. We did not do that, right? It's a new day. But this work is repair work. I always think it as like biblical repairing of the breach. Repairing of the breach. The justice said that at the bombing memorial a couple years ago. He used that language. We're repairers of the breach. So good work to see people feeling. Can you put the statistics back up there for BRT about the safety? Thank you. Safe operation. Even the lowest one, safety at the transit center, 3/4 of our people, of the people using this service, still say they're safe. Think about it. That's incredible. We just have to applaud that. I want to applaud that. And that's staff, right? That you all have done that. It's your leadership. Okay. Now my question is actually after Trustee Ruiz's. I had a constituent text me yesterday, and keep in mind the cold weather, and they tried to get they got to the BRT at 4:48. They live at 36th and Western across from Boys and Girls Club, and they were trying to get there for the 4:53 bus, and it got there earlier than the 4:53 and went past them. Apparently, this has been happening with Joel for a while, like this several times at this particular 23rd and, Classen and 36th,
Okay.
that intersection. This has happened a few times, and then the rider tells Joel, to get there earlier. But he's already gotten there early, right? So I don't know. What's happening there, I guess, is kind of a question, because it strikes me we're holding up the BRT and its software, its arrival time software is like part of the solution for the streetcar, but something else seems to be happening with the BRT. I don't know, and I'm happy to give you Joel's information too, but I don't know what to do about this.
Yeah, I think probably the best course of action would be able to investigate it. So I'd love to get Joel's information, and we'll investigate it for sure.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Armando? If not, thank you for the
Thank you,
presentation.
guys.
Very good. Okay, we have a quorum, so we'll call the meeting officially to order. And are there any residents to be heard? There are no residents to be heard. So item 4 is approval of the minutes of the November 1st, 2024 COPTA board meeting. Is there a motion? It's been moved. And seconded. Please vote electronically. How are we doing?
I guess I'll vote. Voice vote, a yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Moving on to our consent docket, are there any items that trustees would like to have pulled and discussed individually? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent docket?
I'm sorry.
It's been moved.
I'm sorry. Chairman,
Oh, yes.
could someone speak? Is this on? Would you mind if someone spoke about item D, please? I think that people need to hear
Okay.
that, please. Thank
Okay,
you.
that'd be fine. Jesse, would you like to address item D in the consent docket?
Is my mic on? There we go. Yeah, I'd love to. So we have a program, our Homeless and Low-Income Bus Pass program. And so over the past couple of years, we've seen the need for that program to continue to increase. And so what we do is typically we issue a request for folks to come in and request those passes, and we fill those on a first-come, first-served basis. And over the last couple of years, we've started to see that gap increase, right, of folks that we're not able to provide those passes for. And so we took an item to the Transportation Committee earlier last week to discuss the possibility of increasing our local share contribution. And the recommendation that came out of that committee was to increase that by $48,750 in the form of an in-kind contribution. And so that's what we would request to approve today.
Thank you. And Dr. Dillon's not here, but thank you to Dr. Dillon for their work. Thank you for staff. I think Chairman, thank you for, I think you were already thinking about it separately from me, so that was really encouraging to know. Am I understanding that there's still going to be more work ahead of us to deal with a backlog of agencies that are in need of these passes? Would you mind speaking to that a little bit?
Yeah, so the plan is we're going to take these funds and we're going to use those funds to essentially fill that gap, right, to best of our ability. And then with the next cycle of putting out the request, we're going to basically analyze to see, does that gap increase or are we meeting that need? And if that gap increases, then there's a potential for us to come back to the board to ask for an additional increase. But we're going to monitor the request there.
We're doing this incrementally because if we just did it all at once and opened the floodgates, then our partner nonprofit agencies would not have any incentive to go out and try and find funding for this other places. And we would like to have them have that incentive too.
And then do we have any, I didn't think to ask this during the transportation meeting, but is there any way, is anyone keeping track of like the success of administering these passes to these partner agencies in terms of like their users' access to education or employment? Like I'd like to know that. Are we monitoring that right now? And I say this as somebody who's actually, I'm not a big metrics kind of person because I actually think that often people put that there as a way to diminish, right, these sorts of programs. Do we keep track and could we if we don't?
We do. So the last thing we want to do is, issue these tickets to the nonprofits and then they just sit on the shelf, right?
Right.
And so we have the ability to monitor when they're activated or used. And so we could run a report and be able to provide that information at the next committee meeting.
That'd be fascinating to know. And don't we have technology too that kind of tells us a little bit, not just about the activation of the pass, but like where they're going? I don't mean like in a stalker Michael Myers kind of way, but like, are they going to the OCCC? Are they going to the Metro Tech? Are they going to employment? Like, it'd be interesting to know a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I believe we could track where they get on and the route that they're on, but as far as, exiting the
Destination, yeah, of course not, yeah, okay. All right, thanks. Good
And
work.
And this program also runs parallel to our hall passes for our high school age kids here in the area that can get a hall pass and ride our transit system for free.
That's right.
Okay. Any other questions about item D?
Chairman, legal does have a point to make about item E. So item E actually is renewal number 2. If the trust would like to amend that to reflect renewal number 2 before you accept the consent document.
Okay. Is there a motion to amend item E so that it's renewal number 2 rather than renewal number 1?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote individually. Robert and James. And a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay, so now we're back to the consent docket. Okay, and it's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. We're moving on to items for individual consideration. A request for proposal for mobility services providers for various grant-funded mobility programs and authorize the administrator to advertise. Jesse?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so as the memo mentions, for the past 37 years, COPTA has been providing these services, specifically services for seniors, individuals with disabilities, unhoused, and low income. And so essentially what this proposal does is we go out and we request proposals for services that would help us in the instance if there's a request during a time that we maybe aren't in service or we're not able to provide that service. And so typically what happens is we'll receive multiple proposals, and we would typically sign a contract with each one of those proposals. So we have a wide swath of folks to choose from and be able to get the best price.
Any questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to accept item A? Motion to approve is and seconded. All, please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item B on our items for individual consideration is amendment number 2 and renewal number 1 for the professional services agreement with HMS Ferries Incorporated for operation and maintenance services for the Oklahoma River cruises, year 1 cost of $837,475.70, January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2030.
Yep.
Jesse?
Yeah, so we've had a long-standing agreement with HMS Ferries. They've been providing operation and maintenance service along the Oklahoma River for us since 2018, actually. And they've been doing a fantastic job. I think we've talked about several times, we've had presentations of really the condition that they're able to keep our vessels in. It's Bristol condition, which is the highest level of condition that you can have a marine vessel in. The big takeaway from this amendment number 2 and renewal number 1 for HMS is the amendment number 2 incorporates the addition of the first Americans Museum landing. And so working with Okana, they are anticipating opening that resort in mid-spring, so sometime in the February-March timeframe. And our construction schedule right now for that first Americans Museum landing has it being completed around late June, early July. And so we want to make sure that we incorporate those services so that as soon as that is open and ready for service, we can launch service to that landing.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments about item B? If not, let's have a vote to approve. Motion has been made and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item C is a professional services agreement with HNTB Corporation, Jacobs Engineering Group, Olson, Kimberly Horn, or Kimley Horn and Associates, and Half Associates for on-call transportation, conceptual, and planning services, estimated at an annual cost of $300,000 from December 6, 2024 through December 5th, 2029. Jesse?
Yeah, so this PSA really helps, really benefits our planning department, because there's often times where there are grants and things like that that we want to go after, and it helps us be able to meet that demand. So this PSA really helps us with short-term transportation plans, cost-benefit analysis, grant writing, mapping projects, and conceptual design for enhanced transit facilities and other related services. And so typically, this is typical with what we do with these planning service agreements. We'll go out to bid and we'll receive bids from multiple vendors. And so with this, we would look to approve the agreement with HNTB, Jacobs, Olson, Kimley Horn, and HAF. And again, similar to like our mobility services, this gives us options, right? And so there may be a planning or a engineering firm that maybe specializes in grant writing. And so that gives us an opportunity to be able to enter into a contract with them for that specific service.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions? I know that this really helps you all out on this on-call type situation.
Yep.
So, if not, is there a motion to approve these agreements? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to item 7 is a ratification of claims and payroll for the period of November 1st through November 26, 2024. Are there any comments or questions about our claims and payroll? If not, is there a motion to ratify? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Okay, item 8 is to receive our financial reports of schedules of revenue and expenses, budget to actual for the month ending October 31st.
Good morning.
Suzanne.
I'd like to
morning.
welcome one of our newest trustees to the Horseshoe. I do recognize you. I think I've seen you around somewhere, but not in this capacity. So welcome to our new trustee, Jason Fairbrush. All right, so I have a PowerPoint for you again this morning for our October 31 financial reports. This is 4 months into our fiscal year. I will just continue to update you all. I've been mentioning our new financial system. The report you have today really is, I would say, in very good shape. There's not any issues related to that financial system that I need to reference. Staff have been kind of making some adjustments to ensure that these numbers are clear of any FY24 expenses. However, I would point out that the fund balance is still going to be moving a little bit. I wouldn't say significantly, but a little bit, because the FY24 books are not yet closed. So I'll just point that out to you. As usual, we'll start on page 2 of your report if you want to look at that in your packet, or of course you can follow along on the screen here. So transportation operations, our revenues have exceeded expenditures by close to $300,000. Our overall year-to-date revenues are $14.8 million, which is ahead of budget by 5%. And our year-to-date expenditures are $14.5 million, so just over budget by less than 1%. So let's dive into a few revenue lines for you. So Farebox and Fair Media sales, I figured I'd combine those for you because really, ultimately, we're looking at like what are our past sales. And so if we combine those two line items, which in future reports, you'll be seeing that combined, we're actually right on target with our budget. So the combined year-to-date budget is $787,000. The combined year-to-date actuals is $784,000. So right on track there. If you looked at prior year-to-date and combine those, we're actually ahead by $70,000 from last year, which trends with our what we're seeing our increase in ridership. The miscellaneous line item that you see, I've mentioned this a few times, but I'll just continue to mention it because it is such a significant variance. As a reminder, the city's budget office did a plug of about $600,000 into that line item because of the energy cap that was left out of our base budget. So we will continue throughout the rest of the fiscal year to see quite a significant variance in that line. So I just wanted to remind you about that. And then finally, our federal grants, just keeping you up to date on this. There's really not much to report. We're on track with where we should be this time of year. So I just wanted to call attention to that. If we move over to the expense side, or is my slide for expenses hidden? Or did I Oh, I hit the button twice, excuse me there. So if we move over to our expense side on the transportation operations, the payments to the city transportation funds over budget by 33%. So that is, I referenced earlier our financial system, we're recording some revenues a little bit early. And so if you took those out, we're actually right on point with our budget. So no cause for concern there. I would want to point out on our supplies, while we do have near 10% under budget, which looks really good, we are still going to continue monitoring our supply, in particular the repair and maintenance parts. We are still seeing increases in parts to fix our buses. However, we have some savings in other line items that offset that, so it does look, we're in good shape to be under budget, but it's something that we still do need to monitor. And then on the fuel, you'll see that we have quite a bit of savings there. We're at $410,000 when we had budgeted to be at $660,000. So quite a bit under budget there. We are just seeing a lot of savings in the cost of fuel. So continuing to be under budget in that line item. If we move over to parking operations, which is page 4, our revenues exceed expenditures by $922,000. Overall, our year-to-date revenues are $2 million, which is under budget by 7%, and our year-to-date expenditures are a little over $1 million, under budget by 28%. So I'll point out specifically under revenues, the event and transient parking. You'll notice our budget is $1 million, and we collected $900,000, so we're about $150,000 under budget, 15%. And the explanation for that, we forecasted to receive payment from one of our major customers in the month of October, but really every year it fluctuates from month to month. And so we are still expecting that large payment of around $600,000 to come through. And so you'll see that we have, if you look at prior year, we're $626,000 under, below from where we were last year. That is just the invoice that I just referenced from our customer. So we're going to expect to see that revenue in the coming month or two. So no cause for concern on the event and transient parking line. Under expenditures, other services and fees. So I wanted to point out, you see a 9%, $30,000 other services and fees for 4 years. So that would probably catch your attention as being unusual. And so I thought I'd explain that to you. We actually do have more expenses than $30,000. If you recall, in September, the board approved a lease agreement with Ricoh, and it was to lease 2 surface lots that are just west of the Paycom Center. And that's for the Thunder Premier seat ticket holders, so they park there. And the city has an obligation to the Professional Basketball League. They have an agreement with them to provide that surface lot. So the arrangement we have with the city is that we get reimbursed. So we pay Ricoh, we have that lease agreement with Ricoh, but the city does reimburse us for that. So it's about $250,000, and the city went ahead and reimbursed us for it up front. So what that does is it reimburses our expenses that we haven't incurred. So thus dropping it to $30,000. So we will get caught up as those invoices from Ricoh come through. We'll start expending, but I just certainly wanted to explain that to you. If we were to take that factor out, where we're sitting in terms of actuals for other services and fees, we are actually at $265,000, still below budget by 20%. All right, moving over to river cruises. I'm just going to hit the highlights on, oh, yes.
Real quick, the variance on the expenses for services and fees, where are we realizing, I mean, it's a significant savings there. Is that we haven't had the level of maintenance that we thought we might have at this point, or what is that?
Are you speaking about the parking operations?
The other services and fees, the expenditures, $308,000 in variance?
Yes, so that's the Ricoh agreement
Okay.
that I just mentioned. That's
I see.
we got reimbursed by the budget office, so the city reimburses us for that expense. So they did it up front in the year. We
I
haven't
see.
incurred the expense yet, and so we will, as we get invoiced by Ricoh, that will start coming up. But
Okay.
but really, we're at $265,000 in expenses in that line if you
Okay.
took out that reimbursement. Does that
Yeah.
answer your
perfect.
question? Okay. All right, so river cruises, revenues exceed expenditures by $81,809. Our year-to-date revenues are $375,000, which exceeds budget by 9%. And our year-to-date expenditures are $294,000, under budget by 3%. I do not have a slide for you to dive into the details there, just for time's sake. So I'm going to move over to streetcar, unless you had questions on river cruises. I'm happy to answer those. Streetcar operations is page 7. Our expenditures exceed in this case, our expenditures exceed revenues by about $26,000. So our year-to-date revenues are $2.4 million, which meets budget, but it's our expenditures that are over budget by 2%, $2.4 million. So I'll explain that in just a moment, what's causing that overage. So our streetcar fares, I thought I'd highlight for you. So we are, our actual year-to-date is $48,869. I'm gonna have to get some glasses. I'm hitting that point, I guess. $46,869, a positive variance of about $8,800. And so I mentioned to you, if you look over at prior year to date, our revenues were at $15,000. So we're almost 50% above where we were this time last year. Looking at ridership trend, we're 14% above where we were collectively if you looked year over year from July through October and year over year F24 and this July through October. So we are definitely seeing an increase in ridership, which contributes to that. We also have an agreement with Visit OKC, and so those payments have come in. They basically incentivize people to use the streetcar when they come to visit and come to conventions. So we receive some revenue from them in that line item, causing our variance to be in the positive. Now on the expense side, one of the major contributors to us being over budget on our expenses is the services and fees. So let me walk you through that. So our actual year-to-date is $591,000. We thought we'd be at $472,000, so about $118,000 over budget. So there's two contributing factors to that. One of them is insurance. So HTSI, they have an insurance policy. They pass that expense on to us. That insurance, we budgeted a certain amount of increase earlier in the budget process, but of course the timing of when that insurance fee comes through is after we've already put their budget together. And so it came through higher than what we had budgeted. So that's about $65,000 there. And then the even bigger contributing factor is energy cap. So I mentioned earlier in the transportation fund that the budget office had not put energy cap into our base budget, so they made an adjustment. Well, they put all of that adjustment in the transportation fund, and so we're working on moving some of that over to streetcar because energy cap is in the streetcar budget as well. And so once that happens, that will help us by about $1 million on our expenses. So if you factor that in, we are actually ahead. We're ahead of budget. We're in a savings for our expenses. So that's my presentation for you this morning. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any other questions or comments for Suzanne? Thank you. You talk
Thank you.
fast, didn't you?
Thank you.
We appreciate it. So is there a motion to receive our financial reports? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to our program reports, we have a presentation again by Armando on marketing and community engagement.
Well, great to be back so soon. But this time I'm bringing some friends with me. So I'm have two staff members here today. Greg Singleton, he's our new community engagement specialist, and Tiffany Aguilar, also our business development specialist. So they're gonna share some of the wonderful things that we've been doing over the last 3 months. So just want to tee that up and introduce them and hand it over to Greg to talk to you about our community events.
Morning, board. How are you guys doing? So, here we go. All right. So we had pretty busy last 3 months, my first 3 months with the team. So in September, starting from September 15th to October 15th is Hispanic Heritage Month. And so we attended a kickoff at OCCC. As you can see, we brought a Rapid bus with us, and we had lots of interactions about the Rapid program. So very well done there. We were busy in October and November with our general obligation bond engagement meetings, as you guys know. The audiences were kind of small, but very engaged. That would be the upper right picture and the upper left picture as well there. We averaged about 12 interactions per engagement, but they were very, very engaged, and it was really great to talk to those people. I've looked at the website managed by PIM, and over the last few months, they've had 2,788 map contributions. I checked it this morning at 8. We won't know anything from that. I checked with Zach Nash from their team. I was trying to get some high-level data from them to try to figure out how much of those interactions have been for transit. But when a person goes in there and they put a spot on their map and they make comments, they can attribute that to whatever department they want. And so some of that information is not correct. And they'll have to go through because they'll pick different departments for what they think is this or that they're attributing to. So, but very good interactions at those events. Armando and I in the bottom left picture, that's me up there talking, but we were invited to speak to seniors at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, OLI, which is a partnership with OSU OKC. We just gave a general presentation, lots of questions from those folks there. Some other things that aren't on that image, we provided a shuttle to the city of OKC for employees for open enrollment at the convention center, and that went successfully during those 5 days. Yesterday, Tiffany and I attended a job fair at Goodwill. Just to the west of us, down Reno, we were there for 2 hours. We were timing it. We interacted with about a person a minute, so we had 116 interactions for the 2-hour period. So it was it was kind of a job fair. It was great to be there. Here's my next slide. So we did the Embark Health Fair. We had about 326 residents come through. We invited 5 different agencies, which were the Oklahoma City County Health Department, Oklahoma Indian Clinic, Neighborhood Services Organization, Hope Community Services, and Mental Health Association Oklahoma. We were able to give out flu shots and COVID-19 shots. The Indian Clinic was actually able to take blood pressure checks and do kind of checks like that on people right there. They had a nurse with them. Mental Health Association, one of the success stories, they helped a person didn't know how to get a replacement for their Social Security card, so they helped them do that, which is going to help that person to apply for some of their programs and also apply for jobs and things like that and just have a lot more success in life. So kind of a success story there. That's all I have for you. Unless you guys have any questions for me, I'll hand it back to Armando.
Where was the community engagement for the GO bond issue? Where was that held?
There have been
October and November.
There have been 6 different locations so far. We have a 7th one that hasn't happened yet. It's a Spanish-speaking one, but
They were held throughout each ward.
yeah,
So
in all the
scheduled
different wards.
On various dates, but really at the schedule of the council members. But yeah, we were throughout various locations in the city.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
All right, and I will give Ward 2 a shout out on the Go Bonds. They represented very well, a lot more than our standard attendance. So thank you, Trustee Cooper, for your getting the word out to your community and your constituents.
No, thank you.
I wanted to touch on our elections, our promotion for free elections, and a small comparison here between 2024 and 2020. With the increased promotion of the free rides, we were able to increase ridership by 3,961 that day when you compare 2024 to 2020 election. So just wanted to share that with you guys and that success as we continue to move forward and provide that service on election day. So that'll be my little transition here to introduce Tiffany to let her talk to you guys about our business development progress.
Good morning. This first slide here is just to talk about some of the partnerships that we've made with business development over the last couple of months. We have provided meetings with information for transportation needs for employees, community partnerships, shuttle services for events, and promoting parking services as well. And then a couple of these events we got to attend, take some fun photos. The one on the left here, we did a route tour with the Goodwill. The Metropolitan Library had a great event, and they got to check out the bus that they sponsor. And then we worked with McIntyre Law at Day of Kindness and had OU take some pictures on the bus, as well as we used the bus as a warming station because it was a pretty cold morning, but they had thousands of people out there trying to get turkeys for their Thanksgiving dinner. This next one is our partnership with the Thunder for home Thunder games. So just over the last 13 home games, we have provided transportation for over 2,500 fans. And this is from the Sheridan and Walker and also from the Arts Garage. We've had wonderful feedback from the Thunder fans. Several of them have posted on social media and also sent us thanks and appreciation for providing a service to them since they've had to move their locations of where they're parking. This next slide is our partnership with Downtown in December. Just last weekend, we worked at Lights on Broadway in Otto Alley. We had over 200 people come up to our booth. We provided some warm refreshments because it was a pretty chilly evening, but we gave out everything from streetcar information and also talking about our half-price sale, things that are coming up with our transportation, and just encouraging them to ride the streetcar since it's free Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays through January. And I'll turn it back to Armando.
Thanks, Tiffany. As Tiffany mentioned, we're currently, this week, we are in the process of our half-price sale, promoting that to the public. So we saw a tremendous line on Monday at the Transit Center for folks coming in line to purchase passes, but that sale continues through this Sunday, so it's available in person or through the Token Transit app. As you may remember from July, when we had our previous half-price sale, we've modified the procedure for our half price, what we call the bulk pass sales. So for organizations that are purchasing 50 passes or more at a time, such as our community partners, we've actually extended the ordering process to work really with their purchasing and procurement process to give them more time to get their counts and work with us to get that order process for them. And so I just wanted to share a quick note that as of Wednesday this week, we've already exceeded over $100,000 in sales just on those half-price bulk pass commitments. So we anticipate that to continue to climb, but when you use that number in comparison, we have a growth of 81% projected. So I would hope we finish closer to 90, if not 100% growth, but that is something that our team has been working, staff has been working really hard to promote and make those connections with those community organizations that benefit from these pass sales. Also this week, we celebrated the first anniversary of Rapid Northwest. So what you see on screen here is the promotional advertisement we had commemorating and inviting the public to come celebrate with us at the Transit Center this past Wednesday. From 11 to 1, we had a great celebration at the Transit Center. We had cake, we had a DJ, we had a lot of smiles at the Transit Center, and so we also had the opportunity for the public to win prizes and passes. As part of the first anniversary, we are giving away a grand prize of an annual pass, along with some subsets of that, 12 monthly passes and then 365-day passes. So again, building off that first year to really celebrate and drive awareness of Rapid's first anniversary. And then we also held a media event at the Northwest Expressway Park and Ride location. So thank you for the trustees and chairman that showed up and we're part of the unveiling of the project plaque there that you can see. And then as I mentioned, here's Tiffany and one of our winners of the promotional pass here at the Transit Center. So thank you all for your help in making that event successful and recognizing this great achievement of Rapid celebrating 1 year. And in conclusion, in our next report, you can expect us to tie up the half-price sales results, also a full recap of media impact of Rapid Northwest's first anniversary. We are working to promote with the MAPS office the stop improvements and shelter updates. So that'll be coming out and we'll report on that, along with our new service alert campaign that we'll be promoting soon, and then any updates on our winter weather communication. So with that, I'll conclude and take any questions if you have. Yes, sir.
Where was that plaque located again?
That's at the Meridian and Expressway Park and Ride.
Perfect.
Yep.
No, I'll just add that that park and ride location is our first real hanging out as a independent park and ride location for any of our transit end-of-line stops, and it's an opportunity. I hope we're studying the results of the ridership that come and park there and take our transit services. I think it's a great addition and maybe bodes well for future expansion of park and rides in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. I would echo that. I think we see a lot of activity there on Thunder Games, and so we'll continue to build on that success in addition to as we continue to work on different programs and initiatives for business development. Thank you for that.
That's great. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So is there a motion to receive our program reports? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item 10 is items from trustees. Trustee Cooper? Ruiz? Hill? Nope. Fairburn? How about our executive director?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. So just one item real quick. So a few weeks back, the United States Department of Transportation selected Embark to take place in a sustainability tour of Lyon, France, and Salzburg. And it's really, the reason why we were selected was because of the continued support of this board and city council. The reason we were selected was because we continue to bring new modes of transit to Oklahoma City, specifically with OKC Streetcar and Rapid Northwest. And so it's really, really a great honor to be selected. Some of the other member cities are Nashville, Cincinnati, Columbus, Austin, and DC. So it's pretty significant to be grouped into that same group of folks.
So you're going to France?
I'm going to France Saturday morning.
It's tough
Yes,
duty,
sir.
but somebody has to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. That's right. Yeah, all expense paid trip. That's right. Yeah.
That's nice.
I hear you like movies, is that correct?
That's true. Yep.
Enjoy the birthplace of cinema. It's true. Well, unless you listen to Edison here in America, they'll say we did it first, but we'll see. That's great. Congrats.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for attending and being a part of this meeting, and we are adjourned.